Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on where you're located. IAAC welcomes you to this event that was organized as a part of the global campaign for the World Day of Accreditation, year 2023. The topic that is promoted this year is accreditation supporting the future of world trade. And it has been an opportunity to gather today experts with a great deal of experience from different areas of the world that will share with us inspections and other activities of conformity assessment. We can trust them, and they can prove that good services and products that are produced in any part of the world are safe for using them in our homes. The topic of the World Accreditation Day for this year takes us to the future. And I would like to invite each one of you to think about this. The future, we are the future. Do you agree with that? We will see. Our society has provided us many tools for conformity assessment, and also products and services that have been tested. And in a global effort, we overcome the challenges in the areas of health that took us by surprise from one day to another. In terms of 2 years, we have made progress, the progress of decades. We produced vaccines, we carried out technical activities in a virtual way, things that we had never imagined, not in this proportion at least. During this period, the intellectual coefficients and the quality infrastructure was maintained. And that was in part because of the perspective that we have given to our activity. The environmental topics, social topics, and governance topics linked to the SDGs are a priority in global agendas. And in our case, it's not different. Accreditation is a tool that's very powerful and that we want to deliver to society every day. We try to deliver it every day. Currently, we have several mutual recognition agreements, multilateral ones, and we continue to widen their scope. The future of world trade is making progress to global transactions in a more dynamic manner, and our role is to be prepared to respond technically and in the speed that is required to this changing situation. In the Americas, we have a Council for Quality Infrastructure, KICA. KICA is a council that includes the Pan American Commission for Standards, the Inter-American Metrology System, and the Inter-American Accreditation Commission. Together, they have made efforts to keep a robust activities related to quality infrastructure in our region. I am sure that the members of the IAAC, we are prepared and we are welcoming the future of the global trade, and it's here with us already. Please be welcome to the World Accreditation Day of 2023. Please enjoy today's journey with the world leaders and that are here with us today and that are kindly sharing their time with us, for sharing their knowledge. This is an opportunity that is unique that we share with you, and we're glad to have you here. Please ask questions, please make comments. We want to listen from you. Thank you very much for your participation today. I will give the floor to Veronica. Thank you, Andrea. And I would like to motivate everybody to continue to accompany us in this event. To promote accreditation has become a constant at a global level. Thanks to the initiative of ILAC and IAF, we have today Etty Feller. We mentioned that she was the chair of the international cooperation for accreditation of laboratories, and Emmanuel Riba. He is the chair of the International Forum of Accreditation, and they will comment the global perspective of the 2023 campaign and its contribution to world trade. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to join us in this unique celebration once a year in the World Accreditation Day 2023. Thank you very much for the kind words that Andrea and Veronica said. And as was mentioned, today we are celebrating the World Accreditation Day. And the term is accreditation supporting the future of global trade. Yes, we are part of the future, as Andrea said, and we have to draw the attention on how accreditation and conformity assessment are adopting new development and new technology for the benefit of regulators, stakeholders, and the end customer. I think that each and every one have to lead, to learn the market and the need, to educate ourselves and our teams on the global level, regional level, of course, on the national level, have the agility. And after those 2 years, as Andrea mentioned, we have the agility to adopt changes and to adopt the system to what the market need and to develop new ways of accreditation. And of course, each and every one will speak about remote assessment or remote activities. And also the market need these ways in order to adopt the new technology that the industry and the market use. We as the global accreditation community and all my friends from the regional level are part of our system, have to support the global trade and have to deliver confidence to the regulators and stakeholders in our system, and to make sure that it's not just wording, but yes, we will test one or inspect once and it will be accepted everywhere. We have to make sure that the supply chain is more, although it's more complex, we give them the ability to be inspected in unique ways as needed. And nowadays we know that some inspection body use drones and some labs use robots. And each and every one will speak also about AI and how we will use AI. And we are part of the global community, and we have to make sure that our system will support the global need. We have to make sure that not only on the global level, we have to make sure that the regions and the national regulation are followed, and if in each and every economy has their own regulation. So we have to be very sensitive in this manner as well. Of course, sustainability is part of the global movement, and we as an accreditation community have to make sure that we are part of this development. As I said, we have to learn to lead this as well. The World Accreditation Day is a unique day that we can share also new development on a global level. Recently, IAAC and IAF and my colleague Emmanuel Riva will speak in a couple of minutes. We issue for the last 4 years a mega project of one organization for accreditation. It's a new organization of ILAC and IAF. The new organization aim is to make sure that all members of ILAC and IAF will have the ability to take part in our work and to be part of the global community. Not only national accreditation body, but also a forum of labs, inspection body, and certification body, as well as stakeholders that will be part of our system. I want to congratulate IAAC for this event and wish everyone good health, stay safe, and enjoy the World Accreditation Day 2023. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Etty Feller, Chair of ILAC, and we will continue with Emmanuel Riva. He is the Chair of the International Forum of Accreditation, and he will continue commenting about the World campaign and its objective.
Thank you for the invitation, and my compliments for this event that, if I see from the participants, is really well promoted and appreciated. So accreditation supports the future of global trade. It's important to highlight the point on the future. Just to give you an idea, I've been invited last week to attend to a meeting at the United Nations to talk about artificial intelligence and connection with our ESG and conformity assessment activities. So really, the future is today, it's not tomorrow, it's today. We are protagonists in this development, and it's good that we are being seen from the market as the focal point for these topics. So, however, there are growing concerns related to cybersecurity. As I said, artificial intelligence, data protection, fraud authenticity. So this also raised some consumer consciousness about the sustainability, provenance, health, and ethics. This is where we are connected. So standards, I'm happy to see that also Reynaldo is here with us. Standard methodology and accreditation provide a foundation for global trade by reducing transaction costs and providing common reference points. So, but to reach these goals that are common goals for all the pillars of the quality infrastructure, it's essential that also governmental and political legislation will support accreditation conformity assessment, facilitating the trade and strengthening the national quality infrastructure and the regional and the international. This, of course, can create some overlapping, some discussion between the role of the regulators, the role of our activities, but we have to be always focused that we are here to facilitate trade, not just only the movement of the goods, but now today it's important also the movement of the people. So we have to be focused that our main goal is to facilitate the movement of goods and people, and to make the trade fair, correct, with ethics and so on. Also taking consideration the Agenda 2030. So we have a huge responsibility in this regard. Accreditation also can support innovation, ensuring that new technology comply with the required standards and play an important role in ensuring the continued trust in global trade. So we are conscious that we have a responsibility, but also we are conscious that we can do it. So we have the competence, and we are also the resources to arrive to this goal. So altogether, I think that we can reach, we can serve also our world on this regard. I'm happy to see that we are here, a lot of people celebrating this and giving us more strength to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for your presentation. And The work and the effort behind this important campaign has been reflected in the interventions of these two leaders of these two organizations that are working for accreditation. As we have announced, we prepared two panels with topics of interest for you. Right now, we will begin with the first one that will speak about how the quality infrastructure has become a key tool for eliminating technical barriers to world trade and an important support to comply with the goals, the SDGs for world trade. The moderator of this panel will be Victor Gandhi. He is the Executive Secretariat of IAAC. You already know him, and now we'll give him the floor now for the presentation of the panelists. Please, Victor. Thank you, Veronica.
1 second here. Sorry, Victor. Thank you very much for the introduction. Can you hear me? Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to the audience on the support of the future of global trade and how ISO CASCO, the policy committee of ISO, it's contributing to this effort since ISO CASCO, or previous ISO CASCO was a CERTICO, start to develop standards related to conformity assessment. I'm going to give you an overview on CASCO quick, and then go to the point about the use of our standards on UN SDGs, how to support our standards support UN SDGs, and also a very specific example of how this infrastructure that we're hearing now from Etty, from Manuel, and Eric mentioned about regulation and how all of this is working. And I'm going to prove to you that's working, okay? So ISO CASCO responsibility is to develop international standards related to conformity assessment in all areas. And the importance of our standards is that they are horizontal standards, can be applicable for food safety, can be applicable for artificial intelligence, and many others. And the key, it's that what we call ISO CASCO toolbox. It's not too many standards. If I'm sure the majority of the people here know about CASCO, know about our standards, but they are only 37 standards, but they cross the world on the implementation of these standards. Our vision as CASCO is to facilitate trade to the development of relevant standards. And the importance of the international standard. Why and what is the benefits that ISO CASCO and our standards has relate to be international? The first point, it's a dual logo, ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, and IEC, International Electrotechnical Commission. And so, and this benefit also is gained through the participation of variety of experts all over the world that contribute to the development of our standards. And our standards, one of the goals, as I mentioned before, is contribute to more flow of goods. This is the infrastructure that we have. I'm not going to go too much in detail of the infrastructure. One point that I like to mention is the ISO CASCO Middle Committees. Is the core stone on the development of the standards. I'm here in Bangkok, and yesterday I was sitting with the Thai National Middle Committee. So as you can see, it's the community of the ISO CASCO National Middle Committees that make our standards relevant. It's not our working groups in Geneva or whatever the working group is developing those standards. It is the working groups, because who participate in the working groups are the representatives of our national middle committees. So how ISO is in this part to support sustainability. So we have in ISO what we call ISO 2030 strategy. And one of our programs is very specific related to sustainability. And ISO is putting a lot of effort on climate. We also have our, it's called London Declaration. And we develop, as ISO, we develop a document that you're going to see the title and how you can obtain this document is to develop methodology in terms of net zero. So in those efforts, we're tackling climate change, some specific sectors that create more pollution, and you can see the UN SDGs that are relate to climate and also relate to diversity and inclusion. So in the London Declaration, the 3 pillars first is to develop standards that is going to support to reduce the problems that we have today in terms of pollution and problems in terms of climate change. I'm sure if I was in DC area, because I live there, I would see the consequence of some disaster that happened up north in the US. The other point is about the strategic partnerships. We need to do these partnerships with WTO, with UNIDO, with ICO, UN, and the environmental programs. So ISO also and ISO Casco is in this effort to do these activities. And we need also to put our words out there for the companies, for the small, medium companies to understand and also to be able to participate in this effort and implement our standards. Here you have a series of 3 main challenges that we have, and ISO is tackling this challenge to development of standards to support it's called national standardization bodies and SBs that need support. And we have a specific committee that's called DEVCO that support developing countries. So regarding the net zero, we have a guidelines, and this guideline was produced in record time, was 1 year, was less than a year that ISO, with the effort of the volunteers that participate in the development of this document. And also this is more specific in Casco. We have a committee in Casco that developed this brochure about circular economy, our strategic alliance and regulatory group. And you can find, if you Google just the title, you're going to go in our homepage. And this is the focus on this document is how conformity assessment can be applicable to circular economy. So here is some examples of the standards that we have in the toolbox, and you can see in the side the related SDGs that our standards are actually being implemented everywhere in the world today. So here also is some examples that I mentioned about some programs, some voluntary programs. This is also important because not all conformity assessments are regulated. There are many, many conformity assessment programs that they are voluntary. Like there is a global index on eco-labeling program, example, Green Seal in the US, Environmental Seal in Colombia, ABNT in Brazil, eco-labeling in Canada, Uruguay, Trinidad and Tobago, and many other countries. That index, if you go to that index, they're all using standards that were developed by Casco, were developed by our working groups with the support of the national mirror committees. And I put some examples there as well. So moving to trade now, and in a few seconds, I'm going to give you the example how it's working, conformity assessment. I mean, our standards, one of the objectives is to facilitate trade and market access. Because if I'm a manufacturer in Thailand, or if I export fruits from Thailand to the US, what I want, I want that my product can go and not be retested, but my product needs to comply with specific standards. So, and our standards in Casco facilitate that link between the standard, the specification, the test, the inspection, the audit. And there is a need to have an optimization of the infrastructure, like all the regional corporations. For accreditation bodies, the international forum, that forums and international cooperation on this area use our standards. So just to adding here, our Casco toolbox support the multilateral recognition agreements. They are reference standards in the legal framework. I mean, there are many examples on how our standards are used in the legal framework. So this is the example that I'm going to give it to you. I like to give this example because it's a real world. Why my cell phone? I'm here in Bangkok and my cell phone, I can call everywhere. If the response is, there is a multilateral recognition agreement, it's called MRA. It's APAC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. Tell MRA phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is just testing. Phase 2 is certification. So in this MRA, those signatories that they have manufacturers that produce telecommunication equipments, they go without testing in the customs. And in addition to that, those MRAs that I mentioned, they use the ISO Casco toolbox. And I gave other two examples, is the US and the EU MRA for telecom and bilateral with Japan. Oops, sorry. Let me. The last one was about, oh gosh, I don't know what's happened here. It's coming up. Yeah, this is about IAAC. This is just one example for you to see. IAAC, the International Electrotechnical Commission, they have some certification schemes related to product. And you can see some numbers there. They have 12 schemes. They have a number of service and number of certificates that that are issued by those CABs, those conformity assessment bodies that are under this program that are developed and managed by IEC. As you can see, how that impact the global trade, 15% impact on in the areas that they are linked with. It's more than $3 trillion annual US dollars that are in this topic. So just to conclude here, our standards our process are based in transparency, openness, collaboration, and the most important is neutrality, because our standards can be used by all types of conformity assessment. If I'm a tiny farmer that I produce organic products and I want to self-declare that my small farm is in accordance with the standards, we have the solution to that need for that small company. So thank you very much, Victor, again, for inviting Casco to participate in this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say on behalf of my chief, Mr. Stefan Kaiser, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here to support the IAAC and also in general to do our part to support the development of quality infrastructure globally. Also, as a metrologist myself and a Caribbean national, it's nice to even virtually be back in the region where I'm from. So supporting the Americas, thank you very much on a personal level for that too. I think looking on the panel and the distinguished guests that you have here, I thought to take a look more on the human aspect of what we do, because quite often, I'm sure that the other presenters will be very technical and offer some really interesting insights into more of the technical development of what's happening. But I wanted to take some time to just look on how QI impacts trade, yes, but impacts us as humans, because everything we do has an impact, right? Even though the SDGs have these 5 pillars, really all it is about is us in terms of how we use the planet, how we develop as a society, how we link together, and the peace that we really want globally. So in the first side of things, looking on impact on trade, economists will tell us that international trade happens when excess supply in one country, country A, meets excess demand, right? And if you're like me, who's from the Caribbean and lives in Vienna, sometimes that means zero supply meets your demand, right? So one thing, something as simple as a mango in Europe can be a challenge, right? And within that demand, this very theoretical, mathematical, economic concept is a desire to have something satisfied. You have a desire, you want it satisfied. And I think the father of modern marketing, Philip Kotler, found a really good way to define satisfaction, saying a person's feeling of pleasure or disappointment, which results from comparing a product's perceived performance against its expectations, right? So it's when the outcome, the first bite into that mango, meets your expectation that you're satisfied. If that doesn't happen, then really you will end up being dissatisfied, right? And it seems like a very simple equation, but that's really what we're all aiming for. When it comes to products or services, we want satisfaction, right? And for me, I think quality infrastructure is in the business of systematically and scientifically providing human satisfaction. That is what we do. So when we start from one of the more common areas that the general public know of, you can ask about standards and persons will be able to say, yeah, that hasn't met the standard or it does meet the standard. And that is the basic level. We try to define what these expectations are in a systematic way, right? In some logical way to say, this is my minimum expectation for a mobile phone, for example, in the case of our previous presenter, or a mango, or something else that we want. Then how do we measure that? Well, there has to be some mechanism to say that, these defined expectations can now be checked. And this is where metrology comes into play. And this is where my heart is. With BIPM, the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, defining it as the science of measurement and its application. The other side that persons often see and know is the market surveillance side of it, where some authority comes in and makes sure that it meets the regulation. Coupled with that is conformity assessment, right? We want to know that what we have is tested. But what we're here celebrating is accreditation. That procedure, that part of it in relation to giving formal recognition that somebody or some human has the competence to do these tests, to analyze whether or not these minimum expectations will be met. And quality infrastructure for me is that mechanism. We can be very technical, and I find quite often, even as metrologists, we get very, very technical in topics. But that's really what we're trying to do, to find a way to ensure human satisfaction in the things we do. IAAC QI, which has been mentioned by my predecessors also, the International Network of Quality Infrastructure has found a definition for this after much painstaking discussions. And this is a system that has been put together to support quality, safety, environmental soundness of goods, services, and processes. And in terms of the WTO. Now we're looking on trade itself. The technical barriers to trade agreement in Article 6 spells out a number of these pillars of quality infrastructure that we looked on in my previous slide. But in there, I wanted to highlight the word satisfied, right? It's about bringing human satisfaction through all of these technical things that we've put together and called quality infrastructure. So the conformity assessment procedures that are in place to check the standards development that documents the expectations, the metrology, which is not specifically spelled out here. And I'm as a metrologist, again, I'm not the happiest person seeing that we're not listed there, but it's implied, right? When you speak of international standards, what are the standards for measurement? These are very important. And there also is accreditation to ensure that these tests, these conformity assessment results are accepted throughout the world through these mutual recognition or mutual recognition agreements that is in place with the IAAC, IAF to support that. So fundamentally, quality infrastructure is important for society and also for trade. Looking on that, then how does quality infrastructure support our targets for the way we use our planet for prosperity, for our goals as mankind, our 2030 sustainable development goals? Well, if we look on prosperity, the pillar of prosperity, of one of the 5 pillars, quite often this is the one my division, my unit looks to, particularly because of a lot of our work is focused on SME competitiveness, quality, and supporting trade. So we often rely very much on quoting SDG 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. But accreditation itself really serves an important part in achieving prosperity for us as a people. It reduces technical barriers to trade, ensuring that the results of a measurement in country A is accepted wherever it goes. So there's no retesting, there's no issues with, being rejected on the ports. It makes things a lot easier. Also, those who are involved in international trade now can be confident, can trust the products that they receive, can trust even services that you get, that it's at a particular level, right? It also helps regulators to know that the results that come from these labs can be trusted. I don't have to second guess it. And finally, at the consumer level, I can be confident when I pull a product from the shelf, it's not going to harm me, it's going to meet my expectations. Then in terms of the pillar on people, I mean, it's weird to see that we've detached it, but because everything we do is really about people and about us and how we use things, or how we, affect things and our environment. So accreditation helps to protect us, right? These products are trusted, they have met the minimum requirements, especially for our safety, for our health. And then there's also the fact that we can trust health measurements. This is also something important because our doctors rely on this for diagnosis. So if we cannot trust the measurements themselves, then how am I sure that I have the correct diagnosis? An important part that accreditation also plays is in gender equality, right? And we don't often think about this at the forefront, that this is an important part, but accreditation provides objective measurements for how something performs, the competence of a person. It's not based on gender, it's not based on what you look like, it's these objective results. And this really helps in terms of taking out a bit of the subjectivity and the bias that we as humans could have in what we do. Then in terms of our planet, measurements are playing an important role to see how we are impacting the planet with our usage as humans. And also it helps us with other systems that have been set in place, for example, with carbon credits and different monitoring systems that we also use. And also, importantly, allows governments, allows regulators, allows bodies to be able to define, develop policies to help us to better manage the way we use our planet. UNIDO as an organization, quite often you think of UNIDO in terms of technical cooperation. It's a large part of what we do. We support countries towards developing a number of systems, one of them being the quality infrastructure, which is the unit I work within. But also an important part is the role we play in supporting the technical organizations that have this mandate, your BIPM, IAF, IAAC, ISO, IT, all of these organizations. And being part of INET QI is very important to us because there we actively contribute to the human body of knowledge and all that happens with recording our development in this area of QI, but also pushing forward with new areas such as digitalization as a result of the fourth industrial revolution. So in addition to just our part within INET QI, we also produce a number of public goods, which are very important to us. One of them is our laboratory network, LabNet. This is available on our website, on our Knowledge Hub. If you want to just scan right there, it will take you directly to our Knowledge Hub. What we're trying to do is create a database of CABs so that persons have international access to it. I know that a number of lab associations, for example, have their own databases for labs within their region. And this is currently supported by SECO, Swiss, and also Finland. And at present, we have 1,246 providers listed there. We are making a renewed push now after doing some work on languages to increase this number, right? To support also other lab associations or other groupings internationally to be able to promote their laboratories, to give also easy access to persons looking for testing services. It could be that someone in a country does not have a particular service, CAB service that they need, then they could use LabNet to be able to find out where is a suitable provider for them. This is also being worked on as we speak, so we're trying to improve it. So anyone interested, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you on our network to help to spread the message of QI. The other tool that we have recently developed is our Quality Infrastructure for Sustainability Development Index. This tries to assess a country's QI in relation to SDGs. This we have a number of publications on. The current results were developed with our partners from INET QI, taking surveys, taking publicly available data, but we want to improve on it. For us, it's important because it gives us a baseline for technical cooperation projects. So we can say that this is where we started, and then with support, they move to another greater point on the index. But it also means that since it's our platform, we're going to have to constantly update the data as countries progress. So that's something we're also actively working on now, to update the data and to improve the index based on our learning from just developing it. So the index, you can look by QI category. So in the top right, you see accreditation. And I just took Brazil as an example from what is on our index. You can also explore the rankings in terms of accreditation by region, for example. So I took the Americas, Latin America, to see their, what from our index, how the countries rank in terms of accreditation. Then also another important public good that we work on very often is publications with partners such as ISO, IAAF, BIPM, OML, and make these available. So particularly in the era of digitalization, we know QI is changing and is reacting to all of these changes, especially AI, I think is really pushing us and amazing us at the same time. But then laboratory policies, things like how we reacted during COVID-19 to remote assessments, documenting that and how that has changed our lives really and evolved how we operate. So these are also an important part of what NUNIDA does. So without further, continuing too long, just like the same conclusion that quality infrastructure is important for our lives, right? It's important for our planet, it's important for our well-being as humans, and it's also important for our economic growth and our prosperity. And this is in line with UNIDA's 3 priorities. We had a new DG come in Director General come in 2021, and having the priority focus on the human aspect of it, right? Or how we affect people, how we affect climate and limiting climate change, ending hunger, and then supporting our supply chains. So these three critical P's that we look on, hopefully thereby impacting peace and partnership. But I'd like to thank you all very much for the time. I also would direct everyone, if you'd like to look on our Knowledge Hub, that is where all of our public goods are stored, all of our publications, our tools, it's all accessible there. You can just scan the QR code and it will take you there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. So I can definitely answer the Caribbean side of it. I actually just moved to a new project that we have supporting the Caribbean region, specifically through the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. So we're looking on the quality and regulatory framework there. So supporting CrossQ in a number of the regional policies and regional things that it wants to do, particularly on things like the standard strategies, the revision of the quality policy, but also to support select value chains. And we're in discussions right now, leaning towards cocoa and coconut value chains. That is something that we were doing, and helping cabs towards accreditation within these value chains. Working as a subcomponent of a larger business-friendly program that is funded by the European Union, brought to us by the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States. So this project is actually trying to link Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific together to also share experiences and to cooperate a bit more, because there are similarities, but huge differences also between the regions. Within Latin America, I've not yet had the pleasure within the time I've been at UNIDA to work with Latin America, but I know that I do have a number of colleagues working with the GQSP program that is funded by SECO. So looking, and I know there was work in automotive value chains and a number of other value chains. So our approach usually is strengthening the quality infrastructure and looking at the policy framework, the standards development methodology, supporting accreditation bodies, at the same time looking at the entire value chains, because it makes no sense. Well, it can happen, but it's more effective if we develop the system, but also help the SMEs and the businesses to access those services and to be demand oriented. So it's developing the QI plus at the same time helping the value chains to be able to do that. We use donor funding mostly. So I just wanted to clarify also that we don't quite often come in with our own in-house funds, but we come in with the expertise. So once there is a donor or a development partner interested in working in a particular country or region, then we bring our expertise to the table. We bring our ability to design these projects to the table and then help the country towards development. We're also looking on right now through this project on investments in QI, which I think is important, and a discussion we need to have in a number of developing countries. How do we have these PPPs, public-private partnerships? Because sustainability is also a concern. So that's something we're also actively working on. But thank you very much for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Victor, on this question. The channel to participate in CASCO, as I mentioned, is the National Mirror Committee. You need to see in your country the national standardization body, and many of them in Latin America and in the Americas, they have what we call ISO CASCO National Mirror Committee. You need to approach them and request them. And first, you need to participate in the National Mirror Committee, and then they are going to nominate you to participate in the working group on CASCO, and more now, because of all we went through, all the CASCO meetings, including plenaries, it's going to be hybrid. So the opportunity is there, the door is open to participate in our work. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you very much, Victor, and to the panelists for your excellent interventions. We will continue with the second panel of today's panel. And they will show us how accreditation and mutual recognition agreements generate trust in regulators, governments, the private sector, and others for the development of the economies and for opening new markets. As a moderator, we will have Christine Fernandez from the Costa Rican body of accreditation. She will introduce the panelists who will speak about this topic. Please, Christina. Thank you, Veronica. We will have, as Veronica said, a second panel. We have Alberto Herrera. He's a senior manager of accreditations in the Americas. Also Prasant Ramakrishnan, he's senior manager in inspection agencies, both from International Accreditation Services and from the United States, IAAC. They are full members of the full member of IAAC, Jasmine Bautista. She's the laboratory manager of the Mexican accreditation body, EMA, and is a signatory of the MLA agreements of several scopes. Jose Miguel Choque, he is responsible of the accreditation of laboratories in the technical director for accreditation, the Metro in Bolivia. And they're full members, and they are in process of peer evaluation to be signatories of the MLA agreement of IAAC. We have Israel Teixeira from ABRAC, from the Brazilian Association of Conformity Assessment, and president of the Stakeholder Committee of IAAC. Welcome. We will begin, and I will like to ask Alberto Herrera from his perspective, which are the global challenges in the global trade, and how does conformity assessment can help overcome these challenges?
Actually, that question will be responded by Prasant, my colleague Prasant Ramakrishnan. So I was addressing the second question. So if you want me to start with my question, that's fine. Or you want to switch the roles? Please let me know.
Let's start with the second one. Accreditation is based on trust. Could you comment which are the factors that make sure that an accreditation from an accreditation body that's recognized by IAAC, how does it offer trust to regulators, governments, and the private sector for developing economies and opening new markets?
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to, to share our perspectives, our views, and try to answer, to address these questions. Let me, start sharing something with you. My experience with the regulator sectors and different parts of the world. I spent, a good 20 years of working with regulators, government agencies, private sector, promoting and assisting governments to develop building regulatory systems, namely, building codes and what that is encompass, that ecosystem that needs to is be in place, to have a good, sound building regulatory system. I had the opportunity to experience, through this way at a close range, the challenges to bring a fair and well-balanced regulatory system. And in this regard, one of the main components of this system is the role of the conformity assessment bodies, which, accreditation bodies and, recognized by IAAC form, an important playing an important part. In a robust, in a well-balanced regulatory system, the regulator welcomes, the SCAB's participation on the processes of checks and balances that are required to achieve the good performance of this ecosystem, so to speak. Now, to address, specifically the question, what are the factors that ensure the accreditation, by an IAAC recognized AB, and how it's trusted by these elements in all these parts that form the regulatory agencies, government agencies, and private sector, in how they contribute to the development, the creation of the new markets. I believe that those are, the factors are at the core of our accreditation process. The technical and standards, the quality management systems developed, as explained on the panels before, and implemented by organizations in if not police, but in agreement with this with IAAC, and we see that the IAAC participants and signatory ABs are not exempted from those checks and balances. We all participate, and all participants on this ecosystem. We're in the same vessel, so to speak, that needs to be well balanced and provide confidence. As Eric pointed out, the confidence, the fairness, and the integrity, which are essential parts of the accreditation process. Another important factor is, impartiality, which, when it's exerted, results on fairness of the results. A fairly certified product, a fair process, and a trusted lab test report, etc. We could affirm also that the entire accreditation process is what provides this trust and confidence, but specific factors that need to be recognized also, like traceability of the measurements employed in testing and calibration, also proficiency test results, to reassure the validity of the laboratory's performance. This fair practice also apply to the ABs, this checks and balances, by periodic peer reviews of the scope, that the scopes are, recognized by IAAC. And perhaps, this peer review is the best guarantee that IAAC members can offer, to regulators. Technical barriers, as mentioned before, are brought down, when robust regulatory systems are in place. This, of course, bring development to economies and consequently, open new markets, for everyone's benefit. So that is my part of the response, to the question, and I leave, for the next room for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for Prasant, from your perspective, which are the global challenges in the global trade, and how can conformity assessment help overcome these challenges?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And, there are many global challenges in international trade, and some of them, there are many, but let me talk about the significant ones. They are the different foreign technical regulations and standards. We have a standard in America, we've got a standard in Mexico, we've got a standard in Latin America. There are so many different standards, but the standards talk about the similar requirements. So that's one challenge. Another challenge is there are so many voluntary standards, so it's mandated. So that's there. And technical regulations by the regulators vary with economies. So that's another challenge we have. So as I said earlier, duplication of requirements, the complexity in the requirements are the challenges we face from an accreditation perspective when we accredit a CAB. And this challenge is what happens is that it puts enormous pressure on the industries. So they got to comply with redundant standards and regulations. So what happens is that they they spend so much time and money on the processes, and that affects the cost. So as a consumer, you got to pay a higher price and taxes and heavy taxes there, so which can lead to inflation, right? So to avoid all these things, in the conformity assessment community, the accreditation bodies have mutual recognition arrangement and multilateral arrangement in place. This mutual recognition arrangement and multilateral arrangement based on IAAC and IAF have got significant advantages, meaning, for example, there's a test lab which is recognized by, for example, by IAS, and IAS being a mutual signatory of IAAC. So that if that product has to be exported to the different economy, which is also a mutual signatory of IAAC, so that can be it's portable. The test reports are portable and it's been accepted there, so the product does not have to be retested again. And similar logic applies to inspection and certification activities. So, and also the World Trade Organization technical barriers to trade agreement recognize the equivalency of the certificates provided by the CABs who are accredited by the ABs who are part of the IAAC and IAF arrangements. And so some of the benefits what we see is the cost, the significant cost we see, which can reduce the inflation, and portability acceptance of the results, whether it be testing, inspection, or certification. The portability and acceptance makes a difference. And this helps to develop mutual trust and credibility between the economies. So better relationship between the economies. So that's one thing. And one more thing I also want to add is there are some developing economies where there's a need for standardization bodies, accreditation bodies, and the conformity assessment community who are already established leaders in accreditation. We work with them and try to help them develop an accreditation body for their economy. And we encourage them to be a part of the mutual signatory status of IAAC, IAF, IAAC. So all these things are in process. So, so these are some advantages in this how the conformity assessment community helps to overcome the global challenges. This global challenges never stops. You see new global challenges, the technologies, artificial intelligence, chat GPT, and so many new emerging technologies. So all these things still we keep working through. That's why we keep revising our conformity assessment standards periodically so that we stay in alignment with the current developments and technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Alberto Herrera and Prasant Ramakrishnan from International Accreditation Services. And now we will have Jasmine Bautista. She is the laboratory management from the accreditation body from Mexico, EMA. And we would like to ask Jasmine, which are the benefits and the advantages for conformity assessment bodies of being accredited with an accreditation body that is a signatory of the multilateral agreements from IAAC, IAF, from the experience of EMA. Thank you very much. I would like to thank IAAC for inviting us, for sharing EMA's experience in the agri-food sector and how our task as accreditors contributes with the future of the world trade. As we have been seeing from the beginning of this activity, today, more than ever, the world economy depends in a large extent in all the processes, products, and services that are being commercialized locally and internationally. And the agri-food sector is not the exception, and we have to guarantee safety and security in all the points of the supply chain that we have. Guaranteeing food safety, and us as consumers, we look for our needs and expectations to be satisfied. And based on the question that you just asked, one of the advantages that we have in accreditation bodies that are signatories of these mutual agreements, mutual recognition agreements with the different accreditation corporations such as IAF, IAAC, and the regional corporations such as IAAC or the Asia Pacific Corporation. It's that these products or services that are produced in the regions can be commercialized, and they open new markets. They guarantee competition and the quality of services and of the activity that is carried out by the conformity assessment bodies that teach accreditor bodies what they do. So it's a tool for opening free trade, for opening markets, and for entering new markets, and for having more competitiveness. In the specific case of EMA, we are an accreditation bodies with more than 24 years of experience in the market. We are signatories of the mutual recognition agreements in the International Cooperation for Accreditation of Laboratories, IAAC, and from the International Forum for Accreditation and the schemes that we offer. And we are also a part, we are signatories of the agreements of the regional recognition agreements with the IAAC and the Asia Pacific Cooperation. And what guarantees that these accreditation bodies have these mutual recognition agreements? That the activities that the accreditation activities that they do are comparable and are carried out in a competent and in a way that we can trust, and all the conformity assessment bodies guarantee precisely that competence in the activity that they carry out. So we're speaking about an inspection body, and the resolutions that they're issuing have all the safeties that are necessary to go into that country. Like in the case that I was commenting, or my colleague commented, in the case of test laboratories, the reports that we present about food or a product, they comply with the regulations at a national or international level.
And it's a benefit for all the CABs who are with a recognized accreditation body, because it gives them the option to go to more than 100 countries where these agreements are operating to date. So I just want to share, under the framework of celebrating the Accreditation Day, we're very happy because we have more than 7,000 accreditations in different schemes that we offer. And like with all my other colleagues in the region and the bodies that we are working under these schemes of mutual recognition, we are always looking for ongoing improvements. We are always trying to implement new alternatives and to look how we can better support CABs who are accredited with us by granting them a tool that will enable them to be, at the case of Mexico, more competitive, to be able to prove that they can export their products under the compliance of national and international regulations, and to be that tool to be able to eliminate this trade barriers. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jasmine. Can you please tell us about the experiences that the Mexican accreditation body has with the programs in the agro sector, please? Yes, of course. Well, let me share with you that in Mexico, the agro-food sector is one of the most important at national level. Given that we have 14 free trade agreements with over 50 countries, well, this has had one of the largest results of the country is that we're the first exporter at world level for avocados. So our main markets in this setting would be the US, Japan, Canada, China, and of course we have a significant impact in exporting fruits and vegetables such as the papaya, lemon, berries, and in the cattle sector, livestock sector, we are producers and we export different types of beef at a worldwide level. And we are supporting the accreditation of the CABs, first of all, by complying with national regulations, but also complying with the international standards and international regulations. And for that, we have different conformity assessment schemes. In all conformity assessment schemes, for instance, for inspection units, we have the programs for plant health, animal health, and labs, test labs. We have accredited labs in each one of the tests for the supply chain. That is to say, from soil testing for determining that the soil is fertile, that it has the required minerals and nutrients in order to have a good harvest, all the way to testing processed products and shelf products. In the section of certification bodies, we have them accredited for food safety, Mexico GAP, organic products, the best livestock practices, supply chain management, global markets, safe quality food, Primus, GFS, and some other schemes that our own regulator has, such as the responsible agricultural companies certification in the last stage, we were able to attain that recognition from the Food and Medication Regulation Office, EDPA, for our lab program, the labs that do food analysis. And this entails the support that all stakeholders or people who are interested in updating law for food analysis need to use a lab that is within the recognition program from the FDA. And ALEMACER is a renowned entity, and it is also supporting our accredited bodies to be recognized by FDA under this program. And also at the national level, well, let me share that also we are working hand in hand with the national regulator, which is the Rural Development and Agriculture Secretariat, in order to have an IQ system that is complete and competitive, and to have and guarantee different CABs necessary to comply with all the technical requirements, compulsory ones here in Mexico. So we are always constantly reviewing and seeing how we can guarantee also these international regulators' specifications in matters of agriculture and food in all sectors. Like I said earlier, we, as an accreditation body, we want to be always at the forefront, to have updated information, to be able to provide all of our accredited and future accredited entities and all stakeholders, not just the CABs, this tool, which is accreditation to facilitate free trade. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jasmine Bautista, manager of the Mexican accreditation entity. Jose Miguel Choque, please turn on your camera. Jose Miguel is the accreditation responsible of the technical accreditation unit of Inmetro Bolivia. Jose Miguel, the question is, mineral exports are significant in Bolivia. Can you please explain the context and what is the accreditation's role to facilitate this sector's exports? Very well. So first of all, good afternoon to everyone. For me, it's a pleasure to be here in this very important event for everyone. And we are very grateful that you allow us to share our experiences and how we've been working in our country. Now, regarding the question, mining is a very significant pillar essential for my country's economy. It has a lot of benefits in all the supply chain and leaves benefit to the state by paying royalties. And therefore, it is very important to have a conformity assessment in all points of the process. So it is very important because when we export minerals, we can reach several countries in different continents, and this activity has grown in the last months, reaching a 30% increase in comparison to previous years. The productive chain of these minerals entails different conformity assessment activities, such as testing, that allow us to determine the product quality and also support the internal trade as well as external trade and exporting minerals. Also, we have inspection organisms and bodies that determine whether the quantity and the transport comply with the requirements for transportation, to have appropriate transportation for the client to be satisfied. So these activities need to be carried out by internal bodies that facilitate the development of this export product. An important requirement of the countries, buying countries, they require this, and we need to also establish this in the regulations that we have for exporting these minerals. A pillar that we've been discussing and that is very important is quality infrastructure. And our country also has QI reaching better levels to reach better economic productiveness, updating technology, and innovating the entire sector. So this is one of the goals of the SDGs, number 8, which is the decent, dignified work and economic growth. So the quality infrastructure in our country provides traceability, the measurements from our Metrology Institute, the Standards Institute, to support the development of our activities and to have them systematized, but above all, from accreditation, the accreditation of these conformity assessment bodies to guarantee the activities for our users. Now our state and the private industry are working in transforming and industrialization of these products to grant them an added value, and not just to export the mineral as such, and thus to have a more royalties and higher costs for the products, and certainly more conformity assessment activities such as product certification, staff scoring will be involved in all the phases of our products. So for our country, it is very important to have accreditation to strengthen our products exports in general products, but not just for mineral, but we also have other exporting products. Thank you very much. Can you please briefly share about the journey that the accreditation body has had in Bolivia to prepare to have the peer IAAC assessment, and what does this mean for the country? Okay, so this is very important for us. The Technical Accreditation Department of Inmetro has been working since its inception in 1997, where these institutions were formed and established. So we are working on developing and granting accreditations, and we've been working under the 61 guidelines, ISO 1710, which were guidelines and directives that supported bodies that were doing accreditation. However, because of different circumstances that the country has faced, we haven't been able to have that recognition. However, in these past 25 years, we've been working in strengthening the management system, implementing improvements in the system, working on the growth of our bodies. Currently, we already have around 100 accredited bodies in the different schemes that we have for essays, calibration, certification. So we've been working all this time to improve our process, improving our organizations and working hard on that. But based on the 2021 management and administration, we've decided, by our authorities decided, to attain the international recognition through IAAC. Since then, we've been working in adapting our management system to the current version of 17,011, and we've been working and trying to improve our accreditation process. We've been working very hard in all sectors that are involved in these processes, such as the conformity assessment bodies, so they can even improve their own management system, so our process is the most appropriate one. We've worked with the assessors registry, and we've been strengthening them with workshops, so the criteria are the appropriate ones for an assessment. And a very important pillar has been the participation of stakeholders. Like I mentioned, it is very important for our country to reach this recognition, so producers, traders, the state can generate more income and revenue through export. To prepare all of this has required to strengthen staff, internal staff in our bodies, as well as the evaluators, and efficient monitoring of those that have been granted, and ongoing and constant monitoring. As part of our preparation, we've received the support from peer organizations like ORNAC, El SAE, these organisms that have helped us to strengthen our capabilities. They've trained us, they support us with some consultations, and all of this with the support of PTB, that in our country it has projects. And as part of this project, we get these capacity building activities. The participation of all parties involved in all the phases has been significant, working always towards the same purpose, to reach the recognition for our country, and with that to meet the expectations, which are very high, specifically from our authorities, so this recognition can help with the export of strategic products such as minerals, as well as other products, because our country has different export products. So the expectations, as I mentioned, are very high, and all stakeholders are interested in that. This is a very laborious work. All instances and bodies are working hard in actions, and we've already done the peer evaluation in April, and the idea is to reach our recognition. Also, I wish to mention that we have reached a milestone in our country's history by receiving a peer assessment for the very first time, and the commitment is strong in the technical department to reach that international recognition going forward, signing the MLA. And this will have an even big value once we reach this objective for this year, where the global initiative to promote accreditation is precisely that, to support the future of world trade. And that is one of the country's objectives, to strengthen export in our products through accreditation. Finally, I wish to thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate in this very important event for everyone. And for sure, accreditation will strengthen our countries and everyone who is associated to conformity assessment. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jose Manuel Choquer, responsible of lab accreditation from the Technical Accreditation Direction in Metro. Now we invite Israel Teixeira from the Brazilian Association for Conformity Assessment. Hello, Israel. So what is the main value that accreditation agreements and multilateral agreements add to regulators, government, and the private sector? Yes, very grateful to be able to share with you the reflections of all the stakeholders on how we operate the conformity assessment under the accreditation. Their insights that I share here are those related with the operation of labs, specifically certifiers within the proposed subject matter. I want to talk about the main value that accreditation grants society. I want to remind you about the context of conformity assessment and its impacts in society as a whole, and how accreditation supports the national conformity assessment systems for international trade. The conformity assessment has significant impacts in all the aspects of society. When we act in the field of health, security, safety, and environment, information and the consumer protection, it's one of the biggest assets because it facilitates access, families' access to products that meet safety standards, contributing to reduce accidents and to inform about the energy efficiency levels for electrical appliances. I can say that now we are all aware of the importance of environmental issues, which are very current and require government regulations through public policies, energy efficiency, certainly a state policy that will permeate all over the world. As we know, energy generation has always been related to an environmental aspect. Conformity assessment makes competition more fair among manufacturers because it avoids unjust trade by establishing minimum quality levels. Those quality requirements end up stimulating the ongoing improvement of our products, thus stimulating research, development, and innovation with positive impacts in society and in the level of human development of our countries. In our highly globalized world, where trade and international transactions are a constant need, conformity assessment enables governments to have rules that contribute to public policies in the setting of the country's economies and international trade policies. Finally, what values are added by accreditation to this very complex setting that I just described and reminded you about? It provides above all trust by proving formally the competence, the consistent operation, and the impartial nature of the bodies that carry out specific activities for assessing conformity. That concept is practiced by national accreditors that apply methodologies that audit and assess with enough robust aspects the accredited bodies. Accreditation standards, let me remind you, have the transparency as part of their framework, as well as the equal treatment, providing accredited bodies clear concepts for managing their organizations. That same concept guarantees the regulating national or bodies that the entire chain of stakeholders involved in conformity assessment practice recognize standards that are clear and transparent. So this provides certainty, legal certainty to the regulating bodies to be able to act on manufacturers and importers who represent risks for our society or who are not complying with the regulations that are based on government policies. So importers and manufacturers are benefited by the same concept. That is to say that there are standards that are equally enforced and applied for all accredited bodies and entities, and that we have recognition, mutual recognition agreements that are supported by standards, once again, applied equally by accreditators that are even audited by their own peers. Finally, accreditation provides governments, manufacturers, importers, and consumers the trust of a solid and transparent system. Certainly, this facilitates international trade with very clear rules and equal for everyone. Thank you very much, Israel. Regulators, governments, and industry actors recognize these added values. So that is a question that is quite significant, because if regulators from the government, manufacturers, and product consumers do not recognize the values that we add, then we will have a big problem. And this will have consequences in the system sustainability. To answer to your question, it will be ideal to have a diagnosis that can clearly show, quantitatively show who are the regulators that recognize our value? I think we do not have this data in a consistent manner. But what we do have is specific, punctual, and sporadic reports on this. But I understand that we need to implement a work plan to get this data. We don't have the same data also for manufacturers and importers. We notice that in countries where manufacturers and importers are organized in associations, these have areas dedicated to conformity assessment, acting even on government regulations and recognizing national accreditation body. Very well. So what happens with the consumers who are the final beneficiaries of our work? We didn't have a survey either to see what they think about us. Certainly, consumers in most of the countries recognize conformity assessment for energy efficiency, for instance. However, they are unaware of the complex system that guarantee products with a high quality and safety level. Another issue is that in the past 3 years, I have seen, and it's been quite concerning, the growth of certification schemes that are not accredited, especially in the matters of SDG. These practices that support the so-called wind washing that may have negatively affect the creditability of accredited schemes because users often cannot distinguish between accredited schemes and those who are not accredited. So I want to read a suggestion from a Brazilian certification body that works within SCG. And they state, I believe that for these situations, we need to develop an even more efficient way to differentiate accredited certification, because nowadays we only have the authorization to identify the conformity with accreditation. There is no distinction that applies. The conformity brand is linked to an accredited system. There's no way to label that. This difficulties makes it difficult that the one who asks certification to communicate to its public that their brand, the conformity brand, has the importance of accreditation. And this is a citation. So communication has been the object of action by the promotion subcommittee, who's also been working in this topic, and certainly we have positive developments for the future. In my humble opinion, it's not enough just to be a robust system. We need to actually express it. And the communication to society is imminent and urgent, specifically now when we are all bombarded by innumerable communication channels and social media. Thank you very much. Thank you, Israel Teixeira. We also want to thank Jose Miguel Chope, Jasmine Bautista, Embrazan, and Alberto Herrera for their participation. And now I give the floor back to Veronica. Thank you very much, Christine, and the panel members who have shared their experience and knowledge. Without a doubt, there's been great contribution for all participants in this event. Also, we wish to thank for your interest. We have had a lot of questions, and this has been reflected in the interaction that we have had with the panel members. And obviously, if there are some questions that have not been answered yet, we will do so and answer them through this email. that we were going to channel the questions through the Secretariat. As closing of these two panels, like Andrea Mello will share with us the conclusions, the more significant conclusions and the key points that were discussed in this session. Andrea, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Veronica. Well, today we heard world leaders of important infrastructure, quality infrastructure actors. We heard about successful experiences, the visions of IAAC members. The presentations were complementing each other, and in all cases, accreditation, international rules-based accreditation is an essential pillar to guarantee trust in global trade. So this strengthens us and it invites us to keep on working competitively and in an expedite manner to provide a trustworthy service. In the Americas, we have several cases of success for agriculture, food, health, energy efficiency, and many others that regulators, governments have trust our systems with the conformity assessment of product that they have in countries.
It's an honor to accept such an important cooperation. So I would like to congratulate everybody who is here, and I would like to invite you to continue to work together with that purpose. Thank you very much to all the panelists for their excellent presentations. Thank you very much to all the IAAC team, the Executive Secretariat, the Technical Secretariat, the Promotion Subcommittee, the Management Committee, the members who have participated voluntarily that provided this moment for all of us. Thank you, all of you, to all the participants, the most important part of this event, where we prepare with a lot of love and concern so that you could enjoy today's activity. We hope that the presentations were successful and that you enjoyed them all, and that you are firm in your purpose of improving the world with quality infrastructure. I hope we will have an excellent weekend. Veronica, thank you, Andrea, for your words. And as you know, the accreditation network continues to grow at a global level and a regional level, and it's thanks to you because you share your experience and knowledge, and also the persons who learn and propose new challenges and goals. Thank you for your participation, and thank you for making this event possible and for achieving the results that we expected. For finishing, we will show the official video of the campaign for the World Day of Accreditation 2023, and we have prepared a short survey at the end of this event that we would like you to fill up. Remember that your contribution is very important for us, and we would like to know the impressions that you had about our event. For the persons who are not cannot be with us until the end of the event, we will send the survey to your email. We will play the video now and have an excellent day. It was an interesting video. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. And remember, the survey is going to be activated when we close this meeting. Thank you very much. And please have a nice day and a successful working day. And see you next time. And thank you on behalf of IAAC. Have an excellent day. Goodbye.